Hi, my name is Rudy Venigala, and today I interviewed Ravi Venigala. Ravi Venigala is my dad, but he is also the founder of Chaitna Foundation. Chaitna Foundation is a nonprofit that was founded in 2016. Chaitna Foundation started by a group of friends who wanted to help out in their local community. They started out by helping out in their local food banks and cooking food for their in their local homeless shelters. Now, Chaitna has expanded to help people in over 3 continents and are still looking to expand. Chaitna has helped out in many ways. To list a few, they have helped out by cooking food, uh, giving families household necessities and groceries, helping underprivileged kids find success in their future by helping them plan paths to either go to college or find careers, and also helping underprivileged kids acquire school supplies such as uh, pencils, papers, backpacks, laptops, and many other resources. But they've also helped schools in third world countries acquire TVs and other electronics to better educate their kids. Furthermore, one of their biggest accomplishments is they help disabled people in third world countries acquire things such as prosthetics, wheelchairs, and other necessities, which will help them be able to go out and work so they can provide for their family. So, the first interesting point that I learned during my interview was how my dad decided to branch out all the way to India after the first year of success within the US. I thought this was interesting because he couldn't be there in person. He had to find someone who will take on the responsibility of running the branch over there and being able to volunteer their time and finding other volunteers to help out in their local community. But connecting this to a class topic, I want to connect it to the international strategy, more specifically the transitional strategy. This is important because my Chaitanya realized that there was a big difference in necessities in the U.S. and necessities in India. So, for instance, he was talking about how when there was forest fires all over the West Coast, and especially in Oregon, and houses burnt down and people lost everything that they had, they needed essentials. And essentials here were pots and pans and cooking utensils and cleaning supplies and generalized household items. But when it came to India, when there was floods and COVID, their essentials were more so just groceries and food, ranging from vegetables to grains to dairy products. So I thought it was interesting to learn how, though Chaitna has a global goal that is all the same, which is to help out in whatever community can by giving them the needs that they need to live out a prosperous life. They still realize that they need to use a transformational strategy to see what is a necessity where and what is a need where, rather than just giving everybody pots and pans, no matter if it's in a third world country or a first world country, because necessities are different depending on where they are. And here in America, it's so much easier to just go to a grocery store and find groceries. So that's not something that everybody will need. And it's while in India, you can't just, if you live in such a impoverished area, you can't just go anywhere and get vegetables. You can't afford them. They're a lot more expensive. So it was nice to see that that was one of their biggest thought processes when it goes into their decision making process. The second interesting point that I learned during this interview was how Chaitna this year chose to challenge themselves and reach out to a place that they didn't know much about, that they didn't know people at, but knew that the people in that community needed help. And that community was Uganda. Uganda was hit hard with COVID, and they needed essentials such as groceries and food just to feed their families. But Chaitanya didn't know anybody that lived there, unlike their previous places that they've helped, such as various cities in America and places in India and even Canada. They knew people from the Chaitanya Foundation had friends and families, or friends of friends who lived in these places, and they could easily reach out to them to ask for volunteers and see if their friends wanted to volunteer, so that they could easily help out those communities. But in Uganda, they didn't know anybody. They had to find other nonprofits that they could team up with, other people that were showing interest via social media and other sources, that they wanted to help out and they wanted to volunteer their time to make sure that these communities had everything that they need throughout the pandemic. And I thought this was amazing, and that it connected to our class concept of the SWOT analysis. Because while my dad was explaining me this, he kind of listed out the strengths that Chaitanya had and how they were strong in helping out the place that they could, because there was a close attachment to the people that were helping out in those communities, because people knew people in Chaitanya, and you could connect everybody back to someone, and it was easy to ask for help and volunteers in certain places. But they knew their weakness was helping out in places that they didn't know anybody, because there was many places around the world, such as Uganda, that may need help way more than people in Portland, Oregon, or Philadelphia that we've helped out in before. But they didn't know how to reach out to those places. But they knew there was opportunity in those places, and there's still opportunity in so many more communities around the world that people people from Chaitanya may not be connected to. But they also realize that a threat of going to these places is that they have to trust in people that they might not completely know, like they do in India and other places. And this could be bad, because if the funds or material or groceries or whatever we're trying to help give them, these people are given to the wrong people's hands, they could disappear and we can never see them again, and it could hurt Chaitanya's reputation more than it could do well. Some of the main things that I learned from this interview is that you should know your market, and especially if you're a nonprofit, know the needs of the people that you're helping. Don't just assume that everybody is the same, because there's a big difference between a first world country and a third world country, and everybody's needs are different. Also, discuss before you make a decision your strengths and weaknesses, and when you do have weaknesses, look for the opportunities that can help you overcome those weaknesses, but never overlook the threats of why you haven't taken advantage of those opportunities yet. Because when you put it all together, that's when you're going to get the best strategy and best decision possible. But with one wrong turn, everything can go downhill.